So today we're looking at the quotation or quoting directly. So this is the topic for today, and these are outlines, learning outcomes. We expect, or you are expected to have a knowledge and understanding of the definition of the quote or quoting directly. Be able also to explain when to use a direct quote when you are writing, and the format, to understand the formatting of a short and long direct quote, and cite your sources as well, and fully incorporate quotes into your writing. How do we do those things? So these are some of the things that we're going to look at this afternoon. Perhaps to kickstart our discussion, before we get deeper in terms of following the slides and so on, just want to check with you, Anna and Dineo. When we talk about quoting the quotation, when we talk about the quotation, what are we implying? What are we talking about here? This is where we were. How do I format my reference list? That's where we were, and we have looked at a little bit of the technique that we have to use when we deal with the referencing of a reference link. And I said we're going to dwell much on it when we get to that. However, the referencing formatting guidelines, there are some few guidelines that I want to take you through. And accurate referencing doesn't only perfect your work from plagiarism, presenting your source material in a consistent and a clear way also enhances the readability of your work. That is, in actual fact, assist you in terms of aligning your work, checking your grammar, your spellings, and so on and so on. More so that your work will be able to be readable, not only to assist you to run away from being caught as somebody who is plagiarizing, but also the issues around enhancing the readability of your work, of your essay, of your assignment. And it closely follow the styles of formatting rules on font type. I think I made a remark when we started discussing this Harvard referencing style. As I said, it is the one that UNISA is using, and other universities in South Africa. It's commonly used in South Africa. And I said to you, in most instances, when students are writing their assignments and essays and so on and so on, you find a person within the same assignment is using different font, and you ask yourself, how did it come that you have got different fonts? Because we expect you to go back after you have drafted your assignment or your essay or your paper. You have to go back and read, try to edit your work, try to align your work, try also to check your grammar, your spellings, and so on and so on, so that by the time you say, now I'm submitting, you know that everything is fine. So the font type is also something that the lecturer will guide you on when it comes to assignments. When you are given a topic to write the assignment, the lecturer also gives you the guidelines in terms of which font to use going forward. The font size as well. Text as alignment, that's what I was talking about. You need to align. That is part of formatting guidelines with regard to Harvard referencing. So fortunately, our systems in our laptops and computers, they've given us formatting. I mean the automatic text alignment and line spacing as well. If you decide to use 1.5, for example, you must be consistent with using 1.5. It means throughout your assignment, throughout your essay, you are going to use 1.5 spacing, line spacing. And we mustn't find 1.5, in some instances 1, in some instances 2, in the same document. It won't be professional. It won't look good. It will represent you wrongly. So make sure if you choose, if the lecturer says 1.5, you must be consistent as well, and check and make sure that all those your work is aligned around that, and to ensure that your work is easily legible and looks professional as well. And that will also contribute towards the allocation of your marks. You know, when your work is beautiful, your work is clean, the marker becomes so happy to an extent that can be tempted also to give you 1 or 2, 3 marks, just to say thank you for the work which looks so professional, is clean, and you followed all the rules in terms of formatting. Before submitting your work, check that you have formatted your whole paper, including your reference list according to the styles formatting guidelines. So you must check that. So that's why it's important for you to revisit your work. Go to the starting page and check everything, and be so that you are happy when you submit it. You know that everything is up to scratch. You have done your work. You have done what you were supposed to do. Tell me, when they give you assignments, do they give you the guidelines in terms of which font to use, the line spacing, and so on and so on? Do they give you that?
Yes, they do.
That is very critical. If they do, it means the assessor or the marker will also check if you have followed that. So it becomes so important, very important. So make sure that you follow the guidelines from the lecturer. Margins 2.5 centimeters on all sides. This is your page. Sometimes the system will give you the opportunity to enlarge or to shorten it. So make sure that you follow it properly. For example, if it's 2.5 centimeters on all sides, so you make sure that both sides are equal in terms of the size. Shortened title followed by the page number in the header aligned to the right. You'll realize that in most instances, your first page, that's where most of the things are. Your particulars, you know, where you'll indicate your name and so on and so on. So all things will be written there. So in terms of the Harvard self-referencing, double space the entirety of the paper. They expect that, and a half-inch indentation for every new paragraph. And it's simple. You just press the tab bar. It will do that for you. You don't have to struggle about it. As I said, that the system allows for that. They've got everything that we need there for us just to know, to learn how to use it, and to get used to that. Then the suggested fonts. Sometimes it's a Times New Roman, sometimes it's Arial, sometimes it's Korea New for Windows. But in most instances, for the sake of your requirements, to meet the requirements which are there, lecturers, they will tell you they want you to use the Arial, and the font size becomes 12. So when they say they need Arial, don't use Times New Roman or any other. Or if they say New Roman or something else, because you are used to using Arial, don't use Arial. Stick to what the lecturer is saying. Somebody's giving you the what you call the instruction. So stick to that. But usually it's the Arial which is mostly used. And then the font size is 12. which is mostly being used. Ensure that all Harvard citations are in the same font as the rest of the work. That's what I was saying earlier, that make sure there is a uniformity, there is consistency in terms of the font usage. And what I've realized over time, students, when they go and get information from somewhere else, they just cut that information or copy that information as it is, and then they put it there in their document. They don't even check what font are they bringing into the document that you are going to use. So if you get that information, you bring it in there, you must change the font size to match the font size that is needed there in your document. A reference list on the separate page at the end of the body of your work. That's something that is a showcase. And I said to you, don't worry about this one. We're going to look at it in detail about the reference list, how to come up with a reference list. So it will be a separate page or pages, depending on how many references are you having. That will determine the number of pages. It can be one, it can be more than one, and so on and so on. So that is all about the work that we left out for Harvard that day. I think, thank you so much for reminding me. So we're done with that. So we're going back to our today's topic. As I was asking you, how can you explain the quotation? What is a quotation in writing? Or just simply when we talk about quotation, it might be somebody talking, addressing an audience, and then that person along the way makes a quotation. What do we mean by that?
From my understanding, a quote is when you take something that someone has said, maybe from a book you're reading, and then you take a sentence of that which you're going to use, and then you put it in inverted commas, to which you need to reference, in-text reference at the end, whose work you've just quoted. And you cannot quote a whole paragraph, from my understanding.
There, I think it's when you take like exactly somebody's words and then put it into your work to okay, to have like a clearer, to show like a clearer meaning of what you're trying to say, like is to take someone's words directly and then put it in your work.
Okay. I just wanted to have to understand your view in terms of when we talk about quotations, how do you understand it? What is it in your own understanding? Thanks about that. So both of you were correct about the quotation. I've got some few definitions that I want us to look at them to support what you were saying. A direct quotation is when you take another person's words and place them in your own document. You don't change anything. You take those words as they are, and then you put them in your own document. That is what we call a direct quotation, without changing anything. This must always be placed inside quotation marks, as one of you indicated, if not both of you, that you have to show that this is not your own. There should be some quotation marks which are there, and given appropriate attribution. This is applicable to all the referencing styles. Remember, we spoke about the Modern Language Association referencing style, American Psychological Association, and the Chicago Reference Association, as well as the Harvard and others. So it is applicable to all of them. When you make a quotation, to bring something which is not yours into your own work, you have to show, to put them in those quotation marks to show that this is not my own words. I got it from somewhere else. When should I quote? When I'm busy writing my work. Not all evidence needs to be presented in the form of direct quotation. A direct quotation is when you take another person's work and place them in your own work, as indicated. But then, when used properly, quotations can add authority. That's what makes it so important to have quotations when you are writing your assignments, your essays, and so on and so on. It will add some sort of authority. Authority in which sense? Once a reader comes across a quotation, and that quotation will be having a message which is more or less the same as your argument. It's just supporting your argument. It's just putting some strength, you know, some sort of authority. Your document will bear some sort of authority. When I read it, I'll feel that this person has gone all out to research and find some other people's opinions. And this is what this quotation is representing here. Persuasion, you know, it gives that power, that kind of force in your work, that I will be able to pick up that you have just brought something which makes your work more valuable, more strong argument, because there's an evidence. It becomes an evidence that what you are saying is also supported by other people who have said it somewhere, some other time. And also that strength to your argument. Whatever you are saying, you are basing it on the evidence that even this person, even these people, they also said this thing in their own writing. Then you substate or you put across the supporting information with regard to that. However, quotations should only supplement your argument. In most instances, people get tempted. You find somebody who's writing, and you don't even feel or hear the voice of the author, the person who's writing. What you are reading is something which the person got from somewhere else, you know. So it shouldn't be like that. Quotation should be just a supplement for your argument, about your argument, put across your argument, so that you can understand those things. You know, don't make an argument of only quotations, then it is not your argument. That's what I'm saying. From whatever page to the last page, I don't hear you talking there. What I see there are quotations and so on and so on. That's where sometimes people are tempted to write those quotations without following the proper guidelines, and that makes you plagiarizing, because it might sound like you are using those words as if they are yours. Hence, it's not your own. You are using somebody's words, information, evidence that you got from somewhere else. So you must make sure you don't get tempted. It must supplement what you already have. Getting the hang of using quotations correctly can be tricky. And then, how tricky? Tricky in the sense that people, they sometimes fail to follow the proper guidelines in terms of the usage. The guidelines underneath will show you what I'm referring to here. Quotations must be properly cited. Remember, when we cite, that's where you also recognize the person who wrote that particular information. So it must be properly cited as such. Quoting means copying a passage of someone else's words and crediting the source. You have to credit that source. The person who wrote whatever, an article or a book or whatever that you have found that information from, you must recognize that person. That's what we mean by crediting the source. You must be able to mention this, I got it from this book written by who, and so on and so on. So that information, the reader must be able to find. To quote a source, you must ensure the quote text is enclosed in quotation marks or formatted as a block quote. I'm glad that you have got the understanding of this, because you mentioned it when you were giving us the explanation or the definition of quotation, that this has to be enclosed in quotation marks. That is the very thing that will tell me as the reader that this information is not yours. Even before I can go further, by seeing that there's a quotation marks, that text tells me that you are just saying to me, this is not your own, but you got it somewhere. The original author is correctly cited. The person who wrote that particular piece of information is correctly cited. And you follow those procedures that we have looked at previously, on how to cite, correctly. The exact format of a quote depends on its length and on which citation style you are using. So it will depend on that. The format will be determined by the length as well as the citation style you are using. So quoting and citing correctly is essential to avoid plagiarism, which is easy to detect with a good plagiarism checker. I think I've mentioned, if I didn't, it may slip my mind that currently, as we speak, there is a plagiarism checker. It's a system, it's a sort of a program that is in place. Like you turn it in, it can detect that you have plagiarized or whatever. So it will tell you. So you can't cheat, unfortunately. You will be caught that you are not recognizing or attributing whatever you're using to the owner of that particular piece of information, but you're claiming to use it as if it is yours. So hence, you need to make sure that you recognize that person. When should I quote? While you're writing your work, when at what time do you think you can use quotations and so on and so on? In your understanding, ladies, do you think at what stage can you use quotations? Can you quote something into your work? Is there a particular instance where you say, now I'm ready, now I can use a quote? Or at what stage can you quote? Nkosi, let me just put you in the corner. We are busy with quotations today.
Okay.
Yes, so I'm saying, when you are writing your essay, your assignment, at what stage do you think you can make a quote?
If maybe I want to quote what's in the book, maybe the study guide or the book, so I can say maybe so and so said, then maybe if needed I can use the quotation marks to quote what she or he said.
Okay. Now, at what stage do we use quotations in the process of your writing your essay or your assignment?
I think when you want to strengthen what you said, what you have written in your essay or assignment, and then you want to strengthen your assignment, then you can quote from a specific book.
Okay. Anna, are you in agreement?
Yes, sir. I mean, again.
Okay. Thank you. So not all evidence needs to be presented in the form of direct quotation. As indicated, you are arguing, you are putting across your facts in your assignment, in your essay or whatever you're writing. Then you feel like, now I want to strengthen my argument here. Then you can put a quotation, bring in somebody's information, as long as you are able to follow the right procedure in terms of recognizing this person properly. Then you make a quotation. And it's not all evidence needs to be presented in the form of direct quotation. In other words, some information, as we saw previously, can be used, we can paraphrase and so on, but you have to cite. Often you can convey information more efficiently and integrate it more smoothly into your own writing by paraphrasing rather than using direct quotation. That's what I was saying. You can paraphrase instead of using. Remember, when you paraphrase, you are changing somebody's words, but you don't lose the meaning. The trick is that you must not lose the meaning, but you can paraphrase. So paraphrasing, you're not doing what we call direct quotation. So that's why I'm saying not all evidence needs to be presented in the form of direct quotation, but you can paraphrase it so that you use that this person's opinion, this person's ideas, and recognize that person anyway. Then only use the direct quotation when one of these statements is true. The statement that I'm going to give you now. So you can only use the correct direct quotation when one of these statements is true. Number one, the passage is particularly effective, memorable, and well written. When you are reading my article that I've written, and you feel that strongly that, no man, this particular statement that is said here in this article, in this paragraph, is effective and it's well written. And when you look at it and you look at the topic that you are writing about, this statement can fit so well. It can be able to assist me in terms of strengthening my argument. Then you can use that direct quotation. You take it as it is and place it in your work. Your analysis will focus on specific words or phrases in the passage. Then that will also guide you in terms of, now I think I need that. I need to get that particular code to come and assist me here. Or you want to emphasize the source's opinion, especially if the passage clarifies a difficult or contested claim. Then you can bring it into your work because it will assist you in terms of emphasizing the source's opinion, which will in turn supplement your own opinion in the process of writing what you are writing. You are quoting an authority who will lend weight to your argument. Remember, earlier on, I indicated that one of the reasons why we do quotations, we quote directly and bring something into our work, is to bring about the authority. When somebody's reading your work, this person will be able to pick up that you didn't only use your own arguments, but you also get some information from some other people, and you have also recognized those people. You attribute your argument or their argument into your work, so that your work becomes so powerful as well. So that authority, the weight that comes with their argument into your own work, it supplements what you're arguing about. It makes your case so strong. In other words, your case becomes strong because of this other information that you have included in your argument. How should I introduce a direct quotation? I'm busy writing my work. I'm busy writing my article. I'm busy writing my paper, busy writing my assignment. When can I introduce a direct quotation? When you use a direct quotation, you need to integrate it into the rest of the paragraph and to let your reader know whose words you are quoting and why they should care what that person has to say. In other words, what I'm trying to put across here, when you're using a direct quotation, it doesn't come as an isolated passage, isolated sentence, isolated piece of work. It is coming to form part of what I'm writing. What I've started to write, then I bring in the quotation or the quote into my work. It is just being integrated into that particular passage or paragraph. And for that to be qualified, I need also to show my reader where I got this in terms of quotation. Then that's where the issue of quotation marks comes into play, and also the citation comes into play, just to say this is the person who wrote this particular paragraph, this particular sentence that I'm bringing in and integrate into my work. And that will assist in terms of my reader to take cognizance of that particular work that I've brought into my own work. And it makes my work a little bit stronger. And the reader will be able to say, yes, now I see where this argument is coming from, because what this person brought in terms of the quotation, it also supplements what the argument of the real author who is writing this particular essay or this particular assignment. Then the first time you introduce a quotation and its source, you should include some basic contextual information in a signal phrase or signal verb. This is very important. You're introducing it, so its source should be made available, should be seen, so that whoever is reading will be able to understand this properly. And this signal can appear at the beginning, middle, or at the end of the direct quote. So there's no specific place to say only put it at the beginning of the quotation or only put it at the end. This is preparing the reader to understand that you understand that this work is not yours. And you make me aware as the reader that, yeah, now I'm bringing in somebody here to supplement what I am saying. Different words can imply different attitudes on the part of both speaker and the author towards the quotation. So it's something that we don't see it same way, but we differ in terms of understanding and making sure that you integrate quotes properly into your text by introducing them in your own words. That's a signal I was talking about earlier. If I may ask, when you make a quotation, you want to make a quotation in between your writing and so on and so on. How do you start? How do you introduce that quotation? You just put inverted commas and now put those words from the person who wrote whatever, and then you cite it. Then you leave it at that. How do you do that? To prepare me as a reader to know that now you are coming up with somebody's words, which is not yours. How do you do that? How do you introduce that? Anna, your experience, how do you do that? you want to introduce me. You are preparing me that, hey, take note, the next information is not mine. How do you introduce me to that?
Okay, so well, depending on what I'm writing about, but sometimes it could be along the lines of maybe I will write, um, for example, about apartheid, and then I can go on and on about it, and then after that, maybe I have a full stop, and then maybe then say, as per the words of maybe let's just use Steve Biko, and then I will put my quotation marks, write everything that he said, then close it, and then go on explaining now as to how that part goes in line with what I'm saying if I did not mention it prior to now putting in his quote.
Thank you for that input, Anna. Because what is your experience in terms of that? Introducing your quotation to prepare me to know that whatever is coming now is not yours.
Yeah, if maybe like it's in the middle of the sentence, then I can say, as Mr. So-and-so said, then I quote. Yeah, then after I can put my own words, and the reader needs to understand why did I quote that particular person. So in other words, if you use or you quote someone, the reader needs to understand like why. It means after I need to explain why did I quote that person. I don't know if you understand.
I understand you.
Okay.
I understand you perfectly.
Okay, thank you, Doc.
Okay, goes. Dineo, your own experience.
So my experience is the same as Anna's, because
Okay.
the same way she said, yeah, that's how I do it. Like, experience Anna's the same.
Okay. It's good. It's good, to check your own experiences, because they are very important. Very important. Make sure you integrate quotes properly into your text by introducing them in your own words. That's what you indicated. For example, you guys were saying you will mention that so and so said, or according to so and so, and then you give that quote as it is. So when I read and get to the full stop of where you ended your own argument, once I see according to so and so, you are preparing me to say, oh, okay, now I'm going to hear somebody's voice, not the author's voice. So it assists me now to prepare, to want to hear. Now, when I read what the person you're quoting is saying, my mind is still in your own argument. Then I will start now to see if there is a correlation between what you said or what you are discussing about and what the quote is saying. You are not quoting for the sake of quoting. You are quoting because these things are relevant to your own arguments. So that is the reality which is there. And you're showing the reader why you are including the quote in terms of the same, and they say the similarities or the relationship between your thoughts and the person that you are quoting's thoughts. So it will assist me to understand that. And providing any context necessary to understand it, because all the arguments must be within a particular context, and that will assist in terms of that. Don't present quotations as a stand-alone sentences. That's why I was asking you your experiences. Standalone sentences, they mislead sometimes. They mislead. For example, quote not properly introduced. What is happening here is just that there's an open quote. A membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Closed quotes. Then in brackets, I put where I got the information, Levering, 2018, page 3, full stop. Do you think this quote is correct? Has been presented correctly? Open quotation, a membership, I'm coming to you. Open quotation, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close quote. In brackets, Levering, 2018, page 3, close brackets, full stop. Do you think this quote is correct? Is correctly introduced?
I think it's not correctly introduced because because you need to present properly who said these words. So you need to say, okay, so and so said, then you open quote, then you close quote. So if it's like this, it's like it's your own words. It means it's plagiarism.
That is what I was referring to as a stand-alone sentences. Stand-alone sentences. Quite correct, Inkosi. And thanks for that input. So you must always run away from this kind of quotations, standalone quotations or sentences, because it is not well presented and it confuses the reader. There are three main strategies you can use to introduce a quotes in a grammatical correct way. Add an introductory sentence. That's what I was pushing. I was asking you to give us your own experiences, and you correctly indicated. So that is the introductory part of the code that I was looking for. Use an introductory signal phrase. Integrate the code into your own sentence. These are the three main strategies that you can use interchangeably, so that you introduce what is coming up, so that you prepare me as the reader. The following examples use American Psychological Association style citations. As I indicated that we are going to look at these interchangeably using various referencing styles. But these strategies can be used in all styles. It's just that I've chosen to use the American Psychological Association, referencing style. Introductory sentence. Introduce the quote with a full sentence ending in a colon. Don't use a colon if the text before the quote is not a full sentence. If you name the author in your sentence, you may use present tense verbs such as states, argues, explains, writes, reports. I remember one of you, or if not all of you, you said, so and so says, and then you come with the quote and so on and so on. That is what we are referring to when we talk about the present tense verbs. So you can say, Kutsia states that, so and so argues that, and so on and so on. That will show that now you are introducing the quotation that you are going to use. And that describes the content of the quote as well. So it will assist me as a reader to understand that. Now, here's another example. which in Denmark, a recent poll shows that open quotation, open quote, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close quote. Levering, 2018, page 3. We have already said it is wrong on that other one, which was which we saw in the previous slide. Now, in Denmark, a recent poll shows that a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close quote. Levering, 2018, page 3. And this one is wrong. In Denmark, a recent poll shows that support for the EU has grown since the Brexit vote. Open quote. A membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Leverage, 2018, page 3. When you look at this one, compared to the first one, you can see the difference there. When you read the second one, it is a little bit giving you the context of the code that is still to come. It gives you the understanding, and it shows you that you are going to integrate it with something which is to come, of which is the real quotation. So it prepares you. But when you look at the first one, it's a little bit vague. As a reader, you don't even get that understanding that you are supposed to get. Let's look at another one. Levering, in brackets 2018, reports that support for the EU has grown since the BRICS vote. Where did you get that information? A membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close the quote, page 3. Between the two, the correct two, which one is a little bit easier to follow? The two that I said that they're both correct. In Denmark, let me just read. In Denmark, a recent poll shows that support for the EU has grown since the BRICS vote. And then, open the quote, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close quote, and then in brackets, levering, 2018, page 3. Close bracket, and then full stop. The second one is levering, in brackets 2018, reports that support for the EU has grown since the BRICS vote. Open quote, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close quote. And then brackets, page 3, full stop. If you were to choose, which one would you think is more easier to use between the two? Ladies, which one do you think is easier and simpler to use between the two? They are both correct, but the way they're captured is different.
I think the first one, for me, it's easier.
The first one is easier for you. And Anna, which one would you choose to use?
Yeah, also the middle one also works for me.
Of course, if you were to choose, which one would you choose to use?
The second one, I think, is shorter. Because in Denmark. The second one says in Denmark, blah, blah, but the
A
third
recent
one-
poll shows that a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55%. In Denmark, a recent poll shows that support for the EU has grown since the BRICS vote. Open quotation. A membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. And then close the quote. Open brackets, Levering, 2018, page 3, close bracket, full stop. And the one that you are gearing up to, it says Levering, in brackets 2018, reports that support for the EU has grown since the BRICS vote. And then open quote, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close quote, brackets, page 3, full stop. That's so I'm just reading for you to conclude your statement.
Yes.
So Nkosi is for the last one.
Yes.
The shorter one, the shorter version of it.
Yes.
So you've got choices that you can make, you know. Right. Introductory signal phrase. You can also use a signal phrase that mentions the author or source, but doesn't form a full sentence. In this case, you follow the phrase with a comma instead of a colon. According to a recent poll, comma, open quote, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Close quote, in brackets, Levering, 2018, page 3. Close bracket, full stop. According to a recent poll, why are we starting like this? The quotation is saying, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Levering, 2018, page 3. The question is that you ask yourself, when you get this quotation, who said that? Who said that? The information is according to the research poll that has been conducted. They're the ones who are giving us this information. This one, as Levering 2018 explains, a membership referendum held today will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. Page 3. This is Nkosi's type of quotation, with the ones which are shorter. You know, so you see the way now I'm trying to scale them down, just for you to have a little bit of more choices to make on how you can go about introducing this signal phrase. You know, it shows that you have got options that you can utilize along the way. Let's look at the integrated into your own sentence, this strategy as well. To quote a phrase that doesn't form a full sentence, you can also integrate it as part of your sentence without any extra punctuation. Without any extra punctuation. For example, a recent poll suggests that EU membership will be backed by 55% of Danish voters. EU membership, open quote, will be backed by 55% of Danish voters in a referendum. Where did I get it? Levering, 2018, page 3. Or Levering 2018 reports that EU membership, open quote, will be backed by 55% of Danish voters in a referendum. This is what we refer to as integration into your own sentence. You are mixing it with your own sentence. You make sure that you put it in a way that it represents your own opinion, but you back it up with the original information from Levering to show that this is not only your own thought, but it comes from Levering. So you recognize Levering there. Now let's look at quotes within quotes. Quotes within quotes. When you quote a text that itself contains another quote, this is called a nested quotation or a quote within a quote. It may occur, for example, when quoting dialogue from a novel. And to distinguish this quote from the surrounding quote, you enclose it in a single instead of double quotation marks, even if this involves changing the punctuation from the original text. And in that instance, you have to make sure to close both sets of quotation marks at the appropriate moments. Because remember, when we are quoting, we open and we don't forget to close. In most instances, have you ever listened to people when they are delivering speeches and then they make quotations in between? How do they indicate to us that now they are quoting? Now they are going to say something which is not theirs. How do they do that?
They usually say open quote. Then after the quote, they say close quote.
That's very correct. That's very correct. So in a way, this person will shows that, hey guys, what I'm going to say now is not mine. I got it from somewhere. So be aware that whatever I'm saying is not mine. I got it from somewhere. That way, you're also protecting yourself. If when after delivering the speech, you're going to open up for questions, people might come so heavily on you when they ask you questions because they think that is your own opinion. So if you say, you say, now I'm opening the quote, now I'm closing the quote, and then you just give where it comes from, now you're protecting yourself as well. Nobody is going to ask you questions based on that because you have already now declared properly that this is not my own. I got it from somewhere else. So note that if you only quote the nested quotation itself and not the surrounding text, you can just use double quotation marks and so on and so on. For example, punctuation makes mistakes with nested quotations. Let's look at this one. Caraway introduces his narrative by quoting his father. Then there are semicolons there. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, or there are open quotes, and then whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me. Open quote again. Remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you have had. Close the quote. Then Fitzgerald, 1. And then full stop. And I've indicated there in red that this is a wrong way of this quotation of punctuation mistakes with nested quotations. This is a wrong way of doing it. When you look at the way this person has opened the what you call the open code, the codes is different from the way that we are used to see. Let's look at the correct way. Correctly formatted nested quotations. Caraway introduces his narrative by quoting his father, semicolon. And there are three open quotes there. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, comma, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that we have had. Then close quotes. And there are about three of them there. That is from Fitzgerald 1. Caraway introduces his narrative by quoting his father. Whenever you feel like criticizing anyone, he told me, just remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that we have had. So you can pick it up that there are two people who are being quoted here. The first one is the father of Caraway, and the second person is Caraway, him or herself, who was quoted by Fitzgerald. Caraway begins by quoting his father's evocation to remember that all the people in this world haven't had the advantages that you have had. That is according to Fitzgerald. So this is how you correctly make a quotation based on a netted quotation, which we said it is a little bit difficult if you don't understand it. So you need to make sure that you have got a proper understanding of that, so that when you quote, you know how to quote, because now you're quoting something in between of another quotation, which is a little bit tricky in terms of understanding. Then how do I format a direct quotation correctly? Firstly, determine whether or not the quote should be formatted as a short quote or a block quote. You have to make a determination, make an assessment, and then determine or make a choice whether this is a short quote or is a block quote, so that you're able to quote it correctly. This varies depending on the citation style you are using. For example, remember we spoke of various citation styles. We're talking about your Modern Language Association. We're talking about the American Psychological Association. We're talking about the Chicago. We're talking about the Harvard. So it depends which one you're using, because sometimes you find that they are using various styles. They differ in terms of how the approach of this. So for example, the Modern Language Association style considers a quote that takes up more than 4 lines of your document to be a block quote. That's how they define a block quote in the Modern Language Association. Takes up more than 4 lines. The quote that takes more than 4 lines, it is a block quote to them. For Chicago, the length is 2 lines. For American Psychological Association, the length for block quotes is more than 40 words, and so on and so on. So they differ in terms of how do they determine a block quote. So once it is 40 words according to APA, it means it's a block quote. It's not a short quote, and so on and so on. So these are some of the things which will assist us in terms of understanding how to make that quotation. Shortening or altering a quote, often incorporating a quote smoothly into your text, requires you to make some changes to the original text. And it is fine to do this as long as you clearly mark the changes you have made to the quote. Because once you don't mark those changes, it means you are claiming that this thing's yours. This quotation, these words which are used there, it means you are saying these are mine, these are my own. and of which is not. So now you will fall short of regarded as being practicing plagiarism in a way. Shortening a code, if some parts of a passage are redundant or irrelevant, you can shorten the code by removing words or phrases or sentences or replacing them with an epilepsis. Put a space before and after the epilepsis. So when you are trying to shorten a code, it's something else that can jeopardize the whole thing and change perhaps even the meaning of that particular sentence or that particular paragraph. And that can also look like it is irrelevant. Now you are saying something different from the original text. So it's something that you have to take care to make sure you are careful of. Removing the words doesn't change the meaning, so you must be careful of that. If you take something out, be careful that it's not going to change the meaning of that particular sentence, that particular paragraph. It will still maintain its originality. Otherwise, you will have messed up with the whole thing. The ellipsis indicates that some text has been removed, but the shortened code should still accurately represent the author's point. So in other words, when you remove something, some words there, it must not change even the meaning and the context of that particular passage or paragraph or a sentence. For example, shortening a quote. As Dawn, in brackets 1859, puts it, open quotes, natural selection acts solely by accumulating slight, successive, favorable variance. It can act only by very short and slow steps. Close quote, page 510. When you look at this shortening of a code, you will see that some of the information which were there originally have been taken out to make this little bit shorter, but it still maintains the meaning of the original text. When you check the meaning, you check the context, is still there in this particular code, but at least it has been shortened. Altering a code. You can add or replace words in a code when necessary. This might be because the original text doesn't fit grammatically with your sentence. For example, it is in a different verb tense, or because extra information is needed to clarify the code's meaning. It sometimes happens. So use brackets to distinguish words that you have added from words that were present in the original text. So we need to see where did you get this and which words were removed and so on and so on. So as you need to use the brackets to distinguish words that you have added from words that were present in the original text. For example, adding words to a code. Smith 2020 in brackets states that, open the quote, those with the highest scores were generally older than the average, close quote, page 33. Now, we have added here some words to make this quotation more clearer and understandable. Smith, in brackets 2020, states that, open the quote, those. Who are those? For the sake of understanding, we have added participants, and we just block them there. Block that particular word there. Participants. Who are those participants? With the highest scores, were generally older than the average and then or close the quote. Ladies, do you see the difference here? Do you see how we add those words? Does it make sense? Yes, of course.
Yes, for me it does, because the original sentence was those with the highest scores were generally older than the average. So for those who don't maybe understand who are those, then when you quote, you can maybe put the participants for everyone to understand who are those.
Good.
Yes.
And in particular, we don't mess up with the meaning of the whole quote. You just make a little bit of addition for it to be more understandable. So the other words, if you can see, they're still there, but then we make it to be more clearer and understandable in terms of addition of that. Anna and Dineo, are you in understanding of this? I want you guys to not to get lost along the way.
Yes,
I
yeah.
understand.
I like the chorus, eh? Go on,
The
Dineo, before Anna.
Nkosi's explanation was actually better, so I understood after that.
Okay. Anna, is it okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm in understanding.
Okay. So that is how we alter and make some additions, you know, in a particular code that we want to use. The Latin term sink, which is in open and close bracket, close quotation, is used to indicate a factual or grammatical mistake in a quotation. And it shows the reader that the mistake is from the quoted material, not a typo of your own. So now marking a mistake with a sink. Let's perhaps look at this one. Seal in brackets 2022 states that, open the quote, several problem, and then in block, sink can be addressed using this technique. So what happens here? This author saw a mistake on something that he was quoting, something she was quoting. And then how do I deal with that? So now they use this Latin term, which indicate that a factual or grammatical mistake has happened in a quotation. And then they put sink. This is something which is not commonly used, ladies, but it's something that it is there in a grammatical context when you are writing something. More especially, find that you can't correct it because it's somebody's mistake which was there. Now you want to use this thing, but for you to cover yourself, you just use that sink to say there is a grammatical mistake here, a factual mistake here, but it's not mine. Then you put it in brackets, you know. So I will be able to understand that, oh, okay, this is not yours. You didn't mess up with somebody's work. In some cases, it can be useful to italize part of a quotation to add emphasis, showing the reader that this is the key part to pay attention to. For example, you find that you have got a particular information from somebody, and when you look at that information, let's say it's a paragraph, you don't want the whole paragraph. It's not the whole paragraph that you want. That makes sense, that add value to your work. It's a part of. But then How do I differentiate this? How do I make sure it is known to my reader that this is what the attention should be focused on, not to the whole thing? How do I do that? So you can use italic writing, italic writing on your system there on top when you are busy printing, typing something. There is a choice there. You can either underline or write in italic or bold and so on and so on. So you go there and you'll have to highlight the part that you want to be in italic. And then you highlight it, then you click on that I there. So sorry, so the whole part, that part that you want it to be italic, it will automatically change into italic. So this can be useful. To emphasize, no, in the whole quotation, it's not the whole quotation that I want. My concentration is on this part, which is in italic. So you can do that. Use the phrase emphasis added to show that the italics were not part of the original text. So you'll have also to indicate so that me as a reader will understand that, oh, okay, you made emphasis added. That means what is in italic, it was not there originally, but now it is there because you added it there for your own emphasis to show to the reader that this is the part that I want to be concentrated on. So I will understand that. For example, adding emphasis with italics. Sorry. Because natural selection, open quotes, acts solely by accumulating light, successive, favorable variance, in brackets, emphasis added. It can produce no great or sudden modification. It can act only by very short and slow steps. Unfortunately, I forgot to change into italics that part which needs to be indicated in italic, and that part is the one starting from open brackets here. Let me try to change it now. That's it. I've changed it. I forgot to do that. So I've shown that part that is now in italic. When you look at it, it's no longer looking the same as others. It is in italic. Then in brackets now I'm saying emphasis added. That means I'm emphasizing my point in this quotation only on the first part, which is acts solely by accumulating slight, successive, favorable variance. That is where my attention is. The other part of the quotation is there because I can't remove it. So the reader will be able to see that, oh, okay, it was not original like this. This person have changed that point to emphasize that this is where the most important part of the quotation is. So it will go that way. Are you also in understanding of this one as well? How to go about this one as well?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we understand.
Hey, you sound tired, yeah? Today is too much, né? It demands a lot of concentration. I can imagine.
It's Monday.
Oh my goodness. Weekend. No, it's fine. The recording's there, so you'll always go back and listen. Then the short notes. Short notes. This is something that we take for granted, and they contribute a lot into our writing. Incorporate the code into your own grammatical structure using signal phrases. Place quotation marks around the quoted words. Add attribution using the appropriate citation style for your document. It can be in any of the referencing style that you want to use. You can ask whoever is guiding you, whether it's your lecturer or whoever who is guiding you in terms of writing whatever you want to write, so that they can give you the guidance as for which one do you use, and then you will be able now to apply the guidelines and in terms of that particularly referencing style. Or, let us look at the block codes. Make sure you need the entire code before inserting a block code into your document. Ask yourself if there are portions of the original that could be removed without interfering with the meaning of the code. In other words, as I was indicating earlier on, you find that here is the information. When you read it, you find that there is something interesting that you want to use in your writing. But so you have to ask yourself questions. Do I need everything written there, or I can remove or change some of the words which are there, and then remain with what I want? Then place a colon at the end of the signal phrase or sentence preceding to the code. That is what we saw when I was introducing you to the introductory sentence, like according to so and so, semicolon, then you give the code and so on and so on. Check the appropriate style guide for the rules regarding indentation and spacing. That is what we dealt with there, how to space and so on and so on, when we're discussing the Harvard style. So it depends on which style are you using. It will also guide you in terms of doing that. If you quote more than a few lines from a source, you must format it as a block quote. Remember, we have seen there that the Chicago style, they prefer this number of sentences or lines, then they will regard it as a block quote. And then the American Psychological, they've got this, and so on and so on. So we have seen that. So that also is something that will assist us in terms of understanding which style I'm using. What are they saying? What number of lines are they saying should be used as a block quote? Instead of using quotation marks, you set the quote on a new line, and in that so that it forms a separate block of text. And block quotes are cited just like regular quotes, except that if the quote ends with a period, the citation appears after the period. That's the only difference which is there. But with regard to the other style, it is quoted like the other quotations that we can do for beside the block quote. Let us have an example, for example, for when we were using the Modern Language Association. How do they do block quote? Tolkien favors long sentences and detailed descriptions. To the end of his days, Bilbo could never remember how he found himself outside, without a hat, a walking stick, or any money, or anything that he usually took when he went out, leaving his second breakfast half finished and quite unwashed up, pushing his keys into Gandalf's hands and running as fast as his fury feet could carry him down the lane, past the great mill, across the water, and then on for a mile or more. So you can see there are so many sentences involved here. And if this is a block quote, you see it's confusing and it's frustrating to deal with it. It's long. Avoid relying too heavily on quotes in academic writing. To integrate a source, it is often best to paraphrase, which means putting the passage in your own words. When we say as much as possible, one can try to avoid using quotation in academic writing, is to avoid getting tempted to not use your own words to explain something, or perhaps not quoting correctly and pretend like the words that you are using are yours, which are not yours. So sometimes, to be on the safer side, when you paraphrase, you are running away from a lot of trouble. But quotation can be done if you master the way you have to do it. Should be done, actually. This helps you to integrate information smoothly and keeps your own voice dominant when you are paraphrasing, and also including the quotations here and there. But imagine if in a page you have got so many quotations, it defeats the purpose, because we want to hear your voice there. So you can just quote here and there, and then in most instances, we just hear you talking there. You are writing, doing the writing, and so on and so on. So you become the dominant person there, because this is your work, this is your writing. So we must hear your voice than these other people's voices. However, there are some situations in which quoting is more appropriate. So you need to integrate it there. And when focusing on language, if you want to comment on how the author uses language, for example, in literary analysis, it is necessary to quote so that the reader can see the exact passage you are referring to. That's one advantage of quotation, because I will get the information as it is from the original text, because you took it as it is from where you got it and put it in your work. Then when now you are arguing based on what you got there on the quotation, it gives me an understanding of where you got this information and how you're using it, and it becomes easier for me to relate to the rest of the passage. For example, using quotes to analyze language. You are writing a paper about the novels of F. Scott Fitzgerald. You will have to quote frequently from the novels in order to analyze their language and style. So you will have to go back and frequently checking and trying to quote as directly as possible from their novels, so that we start to hear their voices that you are referring to in their work. When giving evidence, for example, to convince the reader of your argument, interpretation or position on a topic, it is often helpful to include quotes that support your point. Remember, we said when you do quotations, you're bringing in the evidence. You are trying to put across something that supports your argument in the same topic that we are discussing. You are convincing the reader to say, it's not only me who are saying this thing. There are other people who said 1, 2, 3. And you also bring that evidence into play. And the reader will start now to see, oh, yes, this person understands this thing. And it is also confirmed by so and so from this point. And then you are able now to convince the reader. Quotes from primary sources, for example, interviewed transcripts or historical documents, are especially credible as evidence. These are primary sources as well that we can use. One can ask himself or herself a question. Now, when I'm doing these quotations, for example, I hear somebody talking, quoting somebody, and so on and so on. The material that this person has used or is available somewhere that I can utilize also to substantiate my own work that can assist in terms of boosting the whole argument that I'm putting across. For example, using quotes as evidence, you are working on a research paper about the causes of the French Revolution, and you have studied documents and letters written at that time. You can quote from these sources as evidence in support of your argument, because there is some pieces of work, of materials, which are there available that can be useful in terms of giving you evidence, and you can support your quotes by stating where you got it and when was that material is written about the French Revolution. When presenting an author's position or definition, when you are referring to secondary sources such as scholarly books, journal articles, try to put others' ideas in your own words when possible. You try to use your own words to describe what others have said in those articles, journal articles, and the books. But if a passage does a great job at explaining or defining something, and it will be very difficult to paraphrase without changing the meaning, losing the weakening the idea's impact, it is worth quoting directly. In other words, you find that when you read a particular phrase, a particular paragraph, a particular sentence, you think about paraphrasing it, changing it in your own words. You find that it's difficult. You can't do it. Then what can you do? Instead of plagiarizing, you have to go for direct quoting. You take it as it is, original as it is, so that you still maintain the quality and the originality of that particular information, so that you are not found guilty of plagiarism. For example, your interpretation of survey data is supported by a well-known theory on your topic. You find a sentence that perfectly sums up the theory, so you quote it directly before elaborating on your understanding of the theory. That's one part of the one good part of it, where you can just take it as it is. Then after quotation and so on, you start now giving your own understanding of that particular quote that you have, so that it sits well in terms of integrating it in your own thinking and understanding, instead of doing this direct quotation and you don't have the explanation of what you are writing about. Can I change a quote? If so, when and how? Sometimes you may only need to use part of a lengthy quotation. You find that you don't need the whole quotation that is there, but unfortunately, you took it as it is, and then you want to place it in your work. So hence you just need a particular part. You will recall when I was showing you the italic usage of a particular information that you need there, not the whole thing. So ellipses indicate to your reader that you have removed part of the original quotation. So you can remove something and then you remain with whatever is necessary, whatever is relevant to you. Mark Twain's disdain for Jane Austen is well known. He declared in an 1898 letter, "I haven't any right," that's the open quote, I haven't any right to criticize books, and I don't do it except when I hate them. I often want to criticize Jane Austen. Every time I read Pride and Prejudice, I want to dig her up and beat her over the skull with her own shin bone. When you look at this, it confuses a lot along the way. It is a long kind of a quote which makes you even lose the attention, the concentration and the meaning of what this person is trying to put across with this. How can now change, if it's possible, this particular quote, and when can we do that? As I indicated, in the ellipsis, you can remove part of the original quote and you bring about your own understanding, but that has to be indicated that you did something in that particular quote that you came about. Sometimes you need to change the tense of a verb or clarify or change a pronoun or a name. Use square brackets to indicate any changes you make to the original quotation. Open quote, he wanted to change the way people look at race relations, close quote. According to political pundits, now in square brackets, Barack Obama wanted to change the way people look at race relations from Collins, 39. This is how now you indicate any changes you make to the original quotation. He wanted, open quote, he wanted to change the way people look at race relations, close quote. According to political pundits, then square brackets, Barack Obama wanted to change the way people look at race relations. Then where do we get this from? Collins, 39. So this is how it can assist you in terms of trying to change some of the things to make your point more clearer. How to cite a quote in these various referencing styles. Every time you quote, you must cite the source correctly. This looks slightly different depending on the citation style you are using. Three of the most styles which are out there, like your American, your modern language, your Chicago, your Harvard, citing a quote in these styles, more especially APA style. To cite a direct quote in AP style, you must include the author's last name, the year, and the page number, all separated by commas. And this is the same, exactly the same when you do Harvard, you do the Chicago and the modern language. If the quote appears on a single page, use P. And then if it spans a page range, use PP, and so on and so on. So these are common approach and styles that are used for nearly all these referencing styles. And in-text citation can be parenthetical or narrative. We have seen this while we're discussing these different referencing styles. In a parenthetical citation, you place all the information in parenthetical after the quote. In a narrative citation, you name the author in your sentence, followed by the year, and place the page number after the quote. Here we have seen when we're talking about where we're looking at the various introductory sentence towards the quotation, where sometimes you start with the author, and then in brackets you have to got the date, then you go on and on and on. So punctuation marks such as periods and commas are placed after the citation, not within the quotation marks. So they are there. For example, evolution is gradually a process that can act only by very short and show steps, by Darwin, 1859, page 510. Or Darwin, in brackets, the age, 1859, explains that revolution can act only by very short and slow steps. Yes, Nkosi?
Oh, sorry. Can I ask something, ne?
Yes.
If maybe you say Darwin, ne, 1859, then you put colon, you don't put P. You don't put P, I mean. Then you just write 510. Is it wrong?
It's not.
Oh,
It's not. It's acceptable.
okay.
It's acceptable.
I was a bit confused with the P because before we used to put the colon, then 510. So I thought maybe it was wrong. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you for that question.
Okay, no problem.
So citing a code in MLA style, a text citation includes only the author's name, last name, which is the surname, and a page number. It can be parenthetical or narrative and period or other punctuation mark appears after the citation, and so on. Evolution is a gradual process that can act only by very short and slow steps. That's the same example that are used up there, just for us to have a little bit of understanding. So this is how we do the quotation, direct quotation, ladies, and it's quite a number of information to take in, but you'll have the recording to help you to step-by-step follow, as well as the slides that will be circulated to yourselves, so that when you have time, you go back and check. It will assist you in your academic writing going forward. Otherwise, this brings us to the end of our discussion